gotten you up to date on how Johnny Tapia got to this world title. Now, let's go up to Michael Buffer to kick things off.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Top Rank Incorporated, along with your undisputed king of beers, Budweiser, this Bud's for you, present another World Championship bout. Once again sanctioned by the California State Athletic Commission, also by the World Boxing Organization. President Francisco Barcasel, WBO supervisor at ringside is Rudy Paz. The three judges scoring this bout will be Lou Moret, Aaron Kaiser, and Juan Baez. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, referee Raul Caiz. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the blue trimmed with gold and white, and weighing in at 114 pounds. His professional record, 42-21, with one draw, 29 KOs to his credit. Ladies and gentlemen, from Guadalajara, Mexico, introducing the challenger, Willy Salazar. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the turquoise trimmed with black and weighing in at 115 pounds. His professional record, 32-0 with 2 draws, 18 KOs. He comes to us from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the undefeated WBO Junior Bantamweight Champion of the World, the babyface assassin, Johnny Tapia.
Hagan caso a las instrucciones. El huesito aquí, para abajo. Ok, huesito para abajo, golpe bajo. Dense la mano, buena suerte.
So we're set to go here in round 1. This one will be scheduled for 12, of course, for the WBO Super Bantamweight Championship of that man, Johnny Tapia, as he takes on Willy Salazar, who scored an upset win over Danny Romero, who was the arch rival of Tapia, especially when Tapia lived in Albuquerque. He's now living and training up in Big Bear, California. Many people felt, and it may still happen, that Tapia and Romero were headed for a big showdown for lots of money, lots of people watching, and Salazar upset the apple cart, didn't he?
That's why he landed here. He parlayed it very nicely. Probably brought down the marketability of that fight by about half, ruining the plans. And now Johnny Tapia not in as much of a hurry for Danny Romero. Thinks Romero will have to come to him and has resigned himself to the fact that he might not see that fight in the near future. He wants to make his way out here. And there's the right hand by Salazar. Same thing he caught Romero with.
And you know, it's ironic as we look at this. Salazar surprised Romero. What's to say he won't surprise Johnny Tapia? I mean, I'm not suggesting he's definitely going to do that, but he's obviously a fighter that can get things done.
And he's very loose. There's no pressure on him in this fight. 21 losses. He comes in as the underdog. Not very much expected of him, as in Romero, and he scored right hands in the first round of that fight. Tapia does have the reach advantage Romero did not have. We'll see if he utilizes it.
Salazar is a tall fighter. Not too many super bantamweights are taller than Johnny Tapia, though, and Salazar is. Now, Oscar De La Hoya is sitting at ringside with us. Oh, big right hand by Tapia. You have often been compared to Sugar Ray Leonard in terms of your charisma, etc. And, of course, you're at the beginning of your career still. But can Sugar Ray make a difference in being in the corner of Johnny Tapia and being around him?
It depends on the boxer. Like Johnny Tapia is a good listener. He's a good learner. When Robert Alcazar, my trainer, had him up in Big Bear, he was teaching them different moves, and he picked them up quickly. And now Sugar Ray Leonard is one of the best fighters out there in the world, and I believe he can show him a few moves, and hopefully they'll work tonight.
And of course, Larry Goosen is the trainer of Tapia, but Ray Leonard very omnipresent in the whole scheme of things, involved in his management, etc. So you know he's going to make a few suggestions.
Somebody you can always go back to at certain times too, to talk about big fight experience and what to do in certain situations.
And that might be the place where he's most valuable. Here in round one, it has been kind of a mixed bag for both fighters, both landing some good shots occasionally, but neither man taking complete control.
Tapia has found the spot for that, setting it up with the jab. Romero, Salazar unfazed by that.
Only seconds remaining here in round one. And it's been an intriguing first round in which neither man has been able to gain a clear advantage. Follow Johnny Tapia back to his corner. That's Larry Goosen who will chat with him, and Miguel Diaz there also.
Okay, hey. What were you doing in the gym? We're jabbing, taking our time, bobbing and weaving, okay? We're getting underneath, getting on in here, all right? Don't be jumping, man. No, we worked on this in the gym, okay? We gotta be bien pintado, fíjate lo que voy a hacer, ¿sí? Bien pintado, ¿eh? Tienes que pintarlo, de abajo hacia arriba, ¿sí? Ya vea primero.
Tapia has found a spot for the right hand. Right behind the jab, gets that in there, maybe his best punch of the round. Missed closely on a couple of others, but he's going to try to work that right hand off the jab.
You gotta get the jab going. Get the stool.
That's the voice of Larry Goosen as Tapia comes out here for round two against Willie Salazar. We mentioned that Johnny Tapia is training up in Big Bear now, and a popular site for fighters training, including you, Oscar. It's getting crowded up there, isn't it, the gym?
It is getting crowded. Actually, that's why I built my own gym. But it's getting popular. A lot of fighters are going up there, and it's because the altitude helps out boxers. It's a big advantage for Tapia right now. He has that extra win, so he can go them extra rounds.
And it is remote. Concentrate just on boxing. Some nice remove from a lot of things.
Salazar with the right off the break. Dave Von Tempo there. You heard him. And, of course, the voice before that was Oscar De La Hoya, the IBF WBO lightweight champion. Willie Salazar, the man in the purple trunks, who came in with not an imposing 42-21-1 record, although that would be a great record if you're in the NBA or the NHL. And in boxing, people don't think it's that great. But he beat Danny Romero in his last fight, TKO in 7. He won on cuts, but in truth, it was a very close fight even before that, Dave.
There were mood swings. He hurt Romero early. Romero came back in the middle rounds, and then Salazar had turned it around a third time and is starting to get back at Romero, and it was pretty much a one-point fight when it was stopped.
So not really a fluke win for Willie Salazar.
He had his first shot, and Romero came back at him, and Salazar did turn it around again. And it showed a lot of poise under pressure, and unexpected to a lot of people, but 21 losses, as we know, it depends on how you're matched.
And I'll tell you something about Willie Salazar in this fight. He's showing a lot of poise. It's a measured effort. And he is not facing a Johnny Tapia who, as you pointed out, is coming at him with the kind of energy and emotion that we have seen in other occasions.
He's fighting somebody who's trying to find a right hand to get in, setting things up with the jab, but certainly not the emotional bursts we have witnessed in other fights. And the crowd has not really played a factor here yet.
And more than that, also, not the Tapia that throw lots of combinations and hard left hooks to the body. It's a Johnny Tapia who's kind of a tentative boxer right now.
Now, we may see some of the things in this bout that we saw against Arthur Johnson with Tapia, where he's punching up, and he'll be brilliant at times and struggle at other times. What he has done more in this fight is score with right hands early than we've seen him in some other bouts. Individual right hands.
Just like Sugar Ray Leonard, he's getting involved in that. Oh, they blasted heads right. And there's a cut over the, oh my, is there a bad cut. Well, they came in and Tapia's trying to apologize to Salazar, but whatever the motive or whatever the reason, no, there is a point being deducted from Tapia. So Raul Caiz is saying it was deliberate. And the cut is very, very bad. Let's see when they take a look at it. Says it can go on, though. Point deducted from Tapia.
Well, a deliberate headbutt, we'll see now. They come together. There's nothing deliberate about that. He did get him, though, as the heads were both swinging in there, following through on both shots.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say maybe there's a little intent there, truthfully. It's subtle. But, well, let's ask Oscar. Do you think that Tapia looked like he's bringing the head up a little bit?
Johnny Tapia is just such a nice guy that he wouldn't think of doing that. I mean, it was just an intentional headbutt, I believe, in my eyes.
All right, let's take a look at another angle. Let's take another look and see.
As the heads are coming forward here, as a follow-through, as Tapia looked like he was trying to get room to either tie up or set up his next punch, and took it a little bit too far.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I like Johnny Tapia too, and I've known him for years. I thought that last little lift with the head was designed to inflict a little pain, but we'll see. I don't think the referee made a mistake in taking that point away. Well, a point was deducted in the last round. The cut over Willie Salazar's eye was deemed not so bad that the fight couldn't continue. We head into round 3, and just as in Johnny Tapia's career, just as in his life, there are always many subplots played out during the course of a fight. We've already got one here.
And something that we rarely see, if it's ruled an intentional headbutt, you go to the scorecards after 3 rounds of this fight, if it's an accidental butt, which causes the end of the fight. But a butt that's considered permanent could throw all that out of whack. Sometimes that leads to disqualification.
And now it's become a slugfest. And there's the Tapia that works so effectively, throwing those big left hooks and ripping shots. And that cut could have a big impact on the way Salazar fights.
If he thinks that he needs a knockout, that anything could happen to him about stopping it, he will open up and change his style, basically to make sure that the doctors and the referee don't take it away.
Johnny Tapia has had a technical draw in a fight against Ricardo Vargas, May 6th in 1995. This year, that's a slip for Johnny Tapia, in which he was in the fight of his life, Tapia, and it was a technical draw because of a clash of heads and a cut.
And you see with the styles why clashes of heads will occur in Tapia's fights. And here against Salazar, they're both coming forward. They're both trying to gain an edge. And when fighters don't do it with the jab, they try to do it with their head sometimes to try to close that distance.
Now, this is a different Tapia. He's fighting better in this round. He is throwing combinations, throwing punches with, as Gil Clancy, our pal, always says, with bad intentions.
Well, he's got himself a nice little distance set up here, and he's found the jab in round 3. And even though he's going over the top sometimes with Salazar, it's given him a comfortable sense of where he should be on the floor.
So under a minute left to go here in round 3. Johnny Tapia in the black trunks defending his WBO Super Bantamweight Championship. Lands an excellent right against Salazar, and another. He had a point deducted in round 2 for what the referee Raul Caiz deemed a deliberate headbutt, which caused a bad cut around the left eye of Salazar, which you can see is still bleeding. Been a very good round 3 for Tapia.
And in his case, the cleaner the better. Doesn't need to lunge. Johnny Tapia is better when he has his balance, and you see it there.
Good hook and a right hand. That'll do it for round 3. Well, in the locker room, live with Azuma Nelson, our man, Fernando Peramo.
Thank you, Al. Azuma, I have never seen you so relaxed as today.
Okay.
What do you expect of this fight?
I'm expecting a good fight, a tough fight.
A lot of people might say that at 37, you might be a little bit over the hill. What would you tell them?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to the ring and do my best.
Okay, you're so loose. You always this loose?
I'm always.
All right. Well, congratulations and good luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Al.
A stoic Azuma Nelson. He's calm but relaxed, it would appear, as he gets ready for Gabe Ruelas. That's the fight upcoming right here. This this man, Willy Salazar, not only has a bad cut over his right eye, but has been nailed with some big punches by Johnny Tapia.
Jab, jab, jab.
Larry Goosen saying jab, jab, jab as we head into round 4. And Johnny Tapia did that effectively in the 3rd round. Also threw some very good body shots and power shots.
When he does do the jabbing, Tapia can get inside like he said he wanted to do beforehand and mix it up at certain times. And he's landing more right hands than we've seen him. Now he's finding that jab, and look what happens when he scores with it.
Now, Tapia has an outstanding jab, always has. And in recent times has used that jab as more of a power punch. There he misses with the right hand. Since he returned to the ring in 1994, Dave mentioned he was a big power puncher in 1994. Then in this past year, 95, in 5 fights, has not scored a knockout. But he has power, make no mistake about that.
And I think that the headbutt point taken away from Johnny Tapia was a nice wake-up call for him. He's fought better since then. He stayed on the outside. He's been cleaner. He's had better balance and more control.
He misses with the hook, and even though he looked bad in doing it, Dave, I think it's a good idea for him to crank up those hooks. There's the hook to the body. I don't know that anybody in the lighter weight division throws a left hook any better than Tapia does to the body.
He's a tall man utilizing his leverage, and that's why it is so effective. And he can continue to go to it. It becomes a good weapon. And another thing is, when you're on the outside and you throw it from there, you don't get hit very easily with a counter because you're utilizing your reach in throwing a left hook that way.
Salazar told us before the fight, he said, I'm going to try for a knockout. I think I can knock Johnny Tapia out if I do it right. Well, so far, he's been taking most of the power punches.
Tapia measuring him here now. Right hand's getting in the left hooks.
That was a legal punch. Now, Salazar is complaining. Oh, they're complaining because they hit heads again. It was a legal body shot by Tapia. Been a rough affair. The jab of Tapia, though, in the last couple of rounds has become the dominant weapon.
He can really go to work with that, and that's something, a natural advantage you should never give away.
Those of you who don't know, Johnny Tapia had a 3-year bout with alcohol and drugs. Didn't fight for almost literally 3 years, from the end of 1990 to the beginning of 1994. Then got back on track. We have to say, because it was a big part of the story, is former manager and trainer Paul Chavez, who helped him, has since parted ways, but he was a big part of Johnny Tapia getting back into boxing and being successful. And he had a very successful round 4, did this man.
Are you warmed up now? Huh? It's taking me a while, man, but I'll get there. Okay. Will you do me a favor? Anything you do, I don't give a shit what you do. Just like you hit on the back. Okay, well, anything you do, I don't care what you do. Start it with the jab, end it with the jab.
Well, Tapia unloading here, trying to get downstairs with that hook, starting on the outside. Gets the hook upstairs early in the round with Salazar. Good right hand by Tapia, gets Salazar turning away, and he starts to reload for his next sequence there. And another look, let's watch the heads again. Now, that one may have been strange. It's, well, when the heads come together once, after that, it just looks like it can happen time and again.
Now, that time, Salazar didn't move his head away. So,
No.
see, I would look at that one and say that may be them just smacking heads because Salazar didn't take his away from Johnny Tapia. And it happens a lot in Tapia fights, and I don't think it's always Johnny Tapia's fault. I did think the first one was, but in this case, not necessarily. In any case, Tapia, as Dave so aptly put it, got a wake-up call after he had a point deducted for allegedly butting intentionally against Willy Salazar, and since then he has been a different fighter. He's been very, very successful with the jab, and I thought it was interesting what Larry Goosen said. At all good corner work, in my opinion, in between rounds, is a series of short instructions. He said, I don't care what you do, but you make sure you start with the jab and end with the jab, and really that's what Tapia needs to do.
He gave him some good instruction in there and a how-to, very short and concise. You've only got a minute there, and the guy is trying to rest as well. But for Johnny Tapia, when he's using the jab, he's not going to lose the fight.
We're in round 5 of the schedule for 12. Johnny Tapia's WBO Super Bantamweight title on the line against Willy Salazar. A man who comes in here off a surprising upset win over Danny Romero. And Oscar, this Johnny Tapia jab seems like it is taking control of this fight now.
The jab is opening the doors for Johnny Tapia to have a victory tonight, and I believe that Johnny Tapia should relax on his punches more. He's throwing too much power punches, and it's leaving himself wide open.
Loading up a little bit, huh?
I think he has been loading up a little bit more tonight at times. And that's why for him it's good to get back to the jab. We've seen some wild punching from Johnny Tapia at times tonight, which we don't normally see. But all in all, he's been able to drive Salazar back. He's got Salazar going ring post to ring post here. Salazar cannot win the fight going backward here. So Johnny Tapia does have control of him in that respect.
Under a minute left to go here in round 5. Salazar retreating a little bit more in this round. And there's the hook missing by Tapia. Now the crowd gets into it, and so does Tapia as he puts together combinations.
Johnny Tapia was waving his glove there. A little Albuquerque move for a second. It's always a sign of when he thinks he is on his game.
I think Johnny Tapia's best weapon is the double left hook to the body and the head. We only saw it a moment or so ago. I bet we've only seen it 4 or 5 times in this fight.
Very rare. And in recent fights, we haven't seen it as much.
So this has been kind of a coasting round, especially for Salazar, as Tapia pursues and didn't land a lot of great punches, but he did most of the punching that was done. There's the double left hook. He misses with the last one. You see in this picture on the left of your screen is the current temperature here is 47 degrees. A little chilly out here tonight, and they are covering Johnny Tapia with a blanket. There it is. Now remember when we last saw that, when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Roberto Duran at Caesar's Palace in December some years ago. And there's the man that was the beneficiary of that warmth some years ago.
You're doing fine, okay? This is your fight. You're beating the shit out of him.
Well, Johnny Tapia has been on the outside controlling here. Here, a little holding behind the head. And told don't do that. As a byproduct of his aggression. There's the little Albuquerque's greatest hits. That's the first time I think I've seen him do that since he's moved out here.
Absolutely, because the crowd generated that by calling out his name. Of course, that happened all the time in Albuquerque. He feeds off that emotion, and when that emotion isn't there, sometimes he may not bring it into the ring. We are happy to be bringing you this pay-per-view night, La Revancha, the Revenge. Nate Bontempo, Oscar De La Hoya, Nando Paramo, and me, I'm Al Bernstein. We hope you're enjoying it, having a fun time wherever you're watching, whether you have some friends at your house watching or you're watching in some establishment. We hope you're having fun. And right now, Johnny Tapia is having some fun going after Willy Salazar, but Salazar fighting back.
Tapia has his temperature up a few degrees in this round here, as again he's turned on the emotional switch and let it cut loose, which can be good and bad. He's driving Salazar back, landing some left hooks, and Oscar, point you made earlier, he's leaving himself open more.
He's leaving himself wide open. Right now, what I believe is Willy Salazar is trying to time Johnny Tapia. Johnny Tapia's throwing power punches. He's leaving himself wide open, and he can connect him with a right hand if he wants to.
Tapia's going for a home run on almost every shot here in this round.
He is landing some big shots against Salazar, but not the one that will totally get the job done as we approach the halfway point here in round 6.
Tapia again, briefly flirting with that southpaw style, then going back as he tries to land one right hand with it.
There's that double left hook to the... Oscar, you've seen him work up close. He might have one of the best left hooks for the body in the lighter weight division.
I believe he does because he knows how to work the body and comes right back up to the head. Excellent combination.
Oscar, what do you think of guys that change styles briefly a couple times during the middle of the round and go right back? What do you think they're trying to do?
I believe it's perfect because Johnny Tapia might come out strong in one round, then he comes out boxing in the second round. It kind of takes away the game plan from Willy Salazar and it confuses him.
When he goes righty to lefty quickly then back, does he accomplish anything with that? Is he trying to show Salazar something, or is he changing his own mind?
What he does, he tries to confuse Willy Salazar because sometimes Johnny Tapia, when he throws those hard punches, kind of leaves himself wide open and he wants to turn softball in order to confuse Willy Salazar and take him away from his game plan.
Right now, Johnny Tapia is being aggressive, blocking punches, throwing tremendous shots to the body and the head. This is as good a couple of round periods we've seen from Tapia since he won this title.
And for him, it goes back many ways. He is so much better fighting on emotion than some other fighters are. He needs to get reaction. He needs to crowd into it. He needs to charge himself up. And he'll take whatever chances need to be taken in that situation.
And it's not that his technique is bad. It's just, look at those hooks downstairs. I'm telling you, Johnny Tapia does that almost better than anybody in boxing. And that left hook downstairs is debilitating to his opponent. It will be debilitating to Willy Salazar. Let's listen in again.
Hey, take it like that. Nice to you. Stay beautiful. Thank you. Now, that jab, you got your range with it. Every time you get your jab going, you got your range. Okay? Throw the jab, you follow with the right hand now.
Johnny, everything is okay?
Yeah, everything's okay. Okay? Good job. You got it. Good. Johnny, don't forget that jab. He's having a hard time getting away from it with it. Okay?
Well, this is why Johnny Tapia's punches are so good. Look at the angle he gets everything into that. Power comes from the hips. And watch the hips of Tapia as they move. He gets everything into that. That's what turns a good left hook into an extraordinary left hook.
Tremendous work downstairs by Tapia, and that will take its toll as this fight continues. And in fact, we're heading into the 7th round. It is scheduled for 12. Johnny Tapia in the black trunks, the WBO super bantamweight champion, who uses the sleeves of Raul Caiz to wipe off some of his Vaseline from his eye. Well, hey, the shirt was going to have to be dry cleaned anyway, wasn't it?
That's right. And you know, all those little things that Johnny Tapia does, when you're watching him do that, that's showing his head being in the fight. All these little nuances happen when he's on top of things.
You are right, Dave. That really is an interesting point. And he is one of the more eccentric fighters in the ring. But all those little eccentricities are a byproduct of his concentration.
They are him. Well, when you were talking about the left hook he threw downstairs better than anybody in the division. That's how Cooney would throw his in the heavyweight divisions.
When Jerry Cooney was at his best, getting to be a good fighter, never had a chance, I don't think, to really develop the way a lot of people thought he might. But that one punch, whatever you want to say about him, he threw that punch well. Under 2 minutes left to go here in round 7. Johnny Tapia starting to really take control against Willy Salazar. Now remember, Salazar beat Danny Romero. Beat him in 7 rounds. Wasn't a dominating win by Salazar because it was a fairly close fight, but he did stop the fight on cuts. And now here's Tapia dominating Salazar.
I think the styles have made a different fight here because Tapia being taller and the right hand Salazar caught Romero with. He's not landing on Tapia because of Tapia's jab, which drives him back, and also the left hook. He's covering himself as he throws the left hand.
And of course, we've always looked for clues as to who might win in the Tapia-Romero fight. Well, if Salazar is tall and has a certain style and beat Romero, we're seeing Tapia clone that style, and he's beating Salazar. So that may lead people to believe that Tapia might have the upper hand against Romero. That remains to be seen, and we may never know. Danny Romero, of course, recovering from that fight. Under a minute left to go in round 7. And believe me, in my comments, I'm not suggesting that I'm going to write off Danny Romero. Wonderful young fighter who is very, very talented. And as sure as we're sitting here, we'll win some kind of championship again.
And you know how the business is, that in many people's eyes, you're as good as your last couple fights, and they stick out so much in people's minds.
I'll tell you what, Johnny Tapia is performing at the same kind of level we saw right around the time when he won the championship.
And we've seen an energy charge in him here and an emotional uplift. Had not been there as much in his recent fights.
Well, that'll do it for that round in the Johnny Tapia, Willy Salazar bout. But upcoming, that is Gabriel Ruelas, who will attempt for the third time to defend his WBC super featherweight title against the man who he tried to win it from back in 1993 but failed, Azuma Nelson. Of course, as you know, Gabriel is coming in off a win against Jimmy Garcia in his last fight. Everyone knows Jimmy Garcia passed away after that fight. It was emotional. It changed the life of this young man. And he will attempt to get past that tragedy as well and see if he can win tonight against a very tough foe. And even at 37, the legendary Azuma Nelson is not any pushover.
Well, we've been talking about the left hand of Johnny Tapia. Right hand over the top is good there. The left hook